A wild Pidove needs help. The afternoon sun cast long, playful shadows across the grassy backyard in Caspendale. Sterling was meticulously arranging his collection of colorful pebbles on the patio table, while his Charizard, a magnificent orange dragon, snoozed nearby, its tail twitching occasionally, sending little puffs of warm air over the grass. Not too far away, Turner was trying to teach his Pikachu how to do a somersault, a task made more difficult by Pikachu's insistence on trying to zap the fluffy white clouds floating overhead instead. "No, Pikachu, like this!" Turner demonstrated, tumbling a bit too enthusiastically and landing in a heap, his bright red sneakers kicking up in the air. Pikachu tilted its head, then let out a cheerful "Pika!" that sounded suspiciously like a giggle. Eevee, their Great Dane, who was indeed named after the Pokémon, lay sprawled in a patch of sunlight, her big brown eyes half closed as she watched the boys' antics. Suddenly, a small, distressed chirping sound, followed by a frantic rustling, came from the thick azalea bushes bordering the fence. Eevee's ears perked up, and she let out a soft woof. Turner, never one to miss out on excitement, scrambled to his feet. "What was that?" he yelled, already halfway to the bushes. Pikachu, equally curious, scampered after him, tiny sparks fizzing at its cheeks. "Turner, wait! Don't just run in there!" Sterling called out, abandoning his pebbles. He hurried after his little brother, a familiar sense of caution making him scan the bushes for any sign of danger. "It could be anything. Be quiet so we don't scare it." Turner, already peering into the green leaves, whispered loudly, "I see it. It's a bird, Sterling." "A little one." Sterling gently pushed a branch aside. There, nestled amongst the lower leaves, was a small Pokémon, mostly gray and brown, with a tiny tufted head. It was a Pidove, and one of its wings was bent at an unnatural angle. It let out another weak, frightened chirp. "Oh, look," Sterling said softly, his voice full of concern. "It's hurt, Turner." Just then, the back door opened and Mom stepped out, a questioning look on her face. "What's all the commotion, boys?" Eevee sounded like she heard something. She walked over, her kind eyes landing on the spot where Sterling and Turner were crouched. "Mom, look!" Turner pointed. "A Pidove, and it's hurt its wing!" Mom knelt beside them, her movements slow and careful not to startle the injured Pokémon further. "Oh, you poor little thing," she murmured, her voice gentle. She examined the Pidove from a slight distance. "Yes, that wing doesn't look good at all. We need to get it to the Pokémon Center I work at so I can take a proper look." Sterling immediately thought of his collections. "We need a box, Mom, a small one, and we can line it with soft grass and leaves from the yard to make it comfortable for the Pidove." He was already scanning the garage for a suitable container in his mind. "Great idea, Sterling," Mom said with an approving smile. "Can you go find one?" "Not too big." As Sterling dashed off towards the garage, Turner piped up, "Can I carry it, Mom? Can I? And we should bring my new blue water bottle. Pidove might get thirsty." He held up his shiny water bottle, which was covered in pictures of Squirtles. Mom chuckled softly. "That's very thoughtful, Turner, but I think it's best if we don't try to give it water just yet. And Sterling can carry the box once we have the Pidove safely inside, but you can certainly bring your water bottle along for the ride." Sterling returned with a shoebox, perfect for the task. Working together, they carefully gathered soft, dry grass and leaves, creating a plush bed inside. Mom, with her experienced hands, ever so gently scooped up the tiny Pidove, making soothing sounds, and placed it into the box. The Pidove trembled, but seemed to understand they were trying to help. Sterling took the box, holding it with utmost care. The car ride to the Caspendale Pokémon Center was quiet, except for Turner, who kept leaning over from his seat to peek into the box. "Is it okay, Sterling? Is Pidove comfy?" He'd whisper every 30 seconds. Sterling would just nod, his eyes fixed on the precious cargo in his lap. The Pokémon Center was bright and welcoming. Friendly shanties bustled about, and the air was filled with a mixture of soft beeps from medical equipment and the gentle calls of various Pokémon waiting with their trainers. Mom was greeted warmly by Nurse Joy at the front desk. "Hi, Joy. Got a little emergency here," Mom said, gesturing to the box Sterling was holding. Mom led them to a clean white examination room. "Okay, boys, you can wait here, or if you're very quiet, you can stand by the door and watch," she said, taking the box from Sterling. "I need to concentrate." Sterling and Turner chose to stand by the door, side by side, peering in. They watched as Mom carefully lifted the Pidove from the box and placed it on a soft towel on the examination table. Her movements were precise and reassuring. She spoke in a low, calming voice to the Pidove as she gently extended its injured wing. The Pidove flinched a little, but then seemed to settle under her touch. They saw her clean the area around the injury with a special, glowing antiseptic wipe. Then she took out what looked like a tiny, flexible splint and some soft, white bandaging tape. With incredible skill, she secured the Pidove's wing. "There we go, little one," Mom said softly, stroking the Pidove's head with one finger. "That should help you heal up nicely." The Pidove let out a small, contented coo and even seemed to lean into her touch for a moment. Mom smiled. "It's going to need a few days of rest and some special healing potion, but this little flyer will be back in the sky before we know it." Sterling let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Turner bounced on the balls of his feet. "Did we help it, Mom? Did we help it get better?" "You certainly did," Mom said, turning to them with a warm smile. "If you hadn't found it and brought it here so quickly, its wing might not have healed properly. You were both very brave and kind." Mom then carefully placed the Pidove into a special recovery incubator. It was like a cozy, warm nest with soft lighting and fresh water and tiny, nutritious Pokemon pellets nearby. The Pidove snuggled down, its eyes already looking a little brighter. "Will it be all alone?" Sterling asked, his voice quiet. "It'll be safe and comfortable here," Mom reassured him. "We have lots of staff who will check on it and other Pokemon nearby. Once its wing is fully healed and strong, we'll release it back into the wild, right near where you found it, so it can find its flock again. Or if it's a Pokemon that enjoys being with people, we'll help it find a loving trainer." Turner's eyes lit up. "Can we visit it tomorrow? Can we bring it a super tiny shoe?" The Pidove might like shoes. Mom laughed gently. "We'll see about visiting, sweetie, and I'm not sure about the shoe, but it's a kind thought." As they drove home, the sky was beginning to blaze with the colors of sunset, vibrant oranges, deep purples, and soft pinks. Charizard and Pikachu, who had been patiently waiting in their Pokeballs, would be happy to see them. A comfortable quiet filled the car. Sterling looked out the window, watching the colors change, a small smile on his face. Turner, for once, was quiet too, leaning his head against his seat, his favorite water bottle clutched in his lap. "It feels good to help, doesn't it?" Mom said softly, glancing at them in the rearview mirror. Sterling nodded. "Yeah, I hope Pidove gets better really fast." Turner yawned, a big, wide, noisy yawn. "Me too. Helping is sleepy work." Back home, as the last light of day faded, Sterling gave Evie an extra long pat, and Turner made sure his Pikachu was tucked into its little bed with its favorite Pika snack. They thought about their own Pokemon, safe and sound, and the little Pidove, also safe, beginning its journey to healing. The house was quiet and cozy. The day's small adventure had been exciting, but now a gentle peace settled over everything, as soft and comforting as the blankets they would soon be snuggling under, ready for dreams of flying Pidoves and sunny afternoons in Caspendale. The end.